Boxing, boxing fans, what is good? It is 2:20 in the morning. Just got back from the fight party. Mayweather Pacquiao is over and done with, and goddamn, I got a hell of a lot of crow to eat tomorrow morning. But Floyd Mayweather puts on a brilliant performance, in my opinion. He's obviously getting a lot of uh, negative feedback per se from the crowd, and I was just going on Twitter randomly just to read everybody's thoughts. And look, man, guys, this is boxing, you know what I mean? And I thought it going into the fight, I thought Pacquiao was going to be uh, a lot more aggressive and take a little more risk than I guess he really did. But I mean, at the end of the day, man, like Floyd just neutralized a lot of what Pacquiao was trying to do. The left hand wasn't there for the most part in the fight, and Pacquiao was very stationary, and he was right in front of Floyd the entire night, and it gave Floyd a lot of opportunities to shoot those right hands. And I thought there were points where Pacquiao could have you know, I mean, it's obviously easier said than done, but just not be in the line of fire so much and um, give give Floyd different looks. But he really didn't do that at all. And so I forgot who picked it. If it was Al Bernstein was as he said it, like I was telling it to the people that I was watching the fight with, and I gave Pacquiao 2 rounds. I think the fourth and the seventh or eighth, but other than that, it was a landslide. It's crazy. I mean, this. I mean, we waited 5 years for this, and it was a complete landslide. There's I mean, a lot of things Pacquiao should have done, but I mean, I think when you really look at it, man, you start to think like, would this have been the same fight 5 years ago? I mean, I think maybe we might have seen a more aggressive Pacquiao, and maybe that knockout to Marquez really did shake Pacquiao up a bit. I mean, there were points where Pacquiao was taking those risks, and I think when it became a point where Floyd just started to command the center of the ring, and he saw that Pacquiao wasn't giving him any movement, it became the Floyd Mayweather show, man. And mind you, I'm sitting with about like 15, 20 people, with the exception of maybe like one or two people aren't necessarily big boxing fans, and they're sitting there watching this. And by the seventh, eighth round, people started getting up like, "Oh, this is bullshit," and it's to be expected, But this is the one thing with Floyd Mayweather that people got to realize, man, is he is never going to get out of his comfort zone to please anybody, man. And this was a great performance by Floyd, but nothing I would say better than I've ever seen him in the past as far as um, other top guys he's fought. I mean, I think the fact that this was a long-awaited matchup, and Manny Pacquiao did present things that many of us thought at least would give Floyd um, a fight to this in a sense where even if he did win, it wouldn't be like this much of a landslide. But shit, it was. It's just it was crazy. And I really don't know really for Manny Pacquiao what he does from this point. I mean, where do you go from here? What I'm hearing rumors that he could be fed to Terrence Crawford, and it's funny that I'm saying like being fed to Terrence Crawford. Um, I mean, quite honestly, man. I mean, I think we saw little shades of the Pacquiao of old, but I think, man, I think this is like, in a sense, the end of the road for Manny Pacquiao. Now, look, I mean, we do have to take into account, and this is one factor in the fight that I thought that I would. I mean, I picked Pacquiao to win, but one factor that I didn't think would play into the fight was the size factor. Because though Floyd was, is a fast, he moves fast, and he's a quicker fighter than what Pacquiao is used to seeing. we've seen Pacquiao fight bigger guys, and in that it be an issue. But I think for the first time, we saw a legit welterweight who's a boxer fight Pacquiao, and we found out that there is a difference between a genuine welterweight and probably a guy who can still make 140, or really could make 140 if he wanted to, which is why I mentioned the Terrence Crawford fight. Um, but I mean but again, that's not taking anything away from Floyd, man. He went in there, fought the perfect game plan, and took all of Pacquiao's weapons away. I mean, there were points where he landed left hands on Floyd, but he got out of the way. And the one thing, it was funny, this whole lead up to the fight with Pacquiao on Pacquiao's side, or really specifically Freddie Roach, they were saying that they weren't gonna let Floyd set these traps. But I'm watching the fight, and it's like I'm almost seeing it happen, and then it's like as far as like Floyd getting into the corner and then just scooting out, I mean, and it's like so apparent, and I'm watching this, and I'm like, they're falling for the same tricks that they thought they were going to eliminate in Floyd's arsenals for this fight, but it didn't happen. And I think the crazy part of this fight, man, is like when you look at the stats, Pacquiao landed only like 81 punches out of like 435, which again, that's another thing. I mean, he lowered his punch output to double what he had in his previous fights. So again, man, like there's just like, I mean, there was so many points I was wrong in, and I mean, you gotta credit the brilliance of Floyd Mayweather, and he knew. And here's the funny part, when you think about it, throughout this whole 5-year stint of this fight not happening, now you think in hindsight, for the people who thought that, I mean, I was never one that thought Floyd was scared of Pacquiao at all. I mean, I think in general most fighters want to fight guys, but it's a business, and when you really look at it, it's like they waited this long for this fight to generate this much money, and it wouldn't have made the money that if the fight had been made 5 years ago. So it's I think the sad part about it is that what you're gonna hear Sunday morning, well, hours from now, you're gonna hear people and just a lot of critics just say that the fight was underwhelming. And I think that at the very end of the day, man, I think that's been like the story of Floyd's career as far as he beats these guys, but from a boxing standpoint in impressive fashion. But the sport of boxing, man, like just like in other sports, man, like there's tough acts to follow. And when we've been privileged to see the likes of guys like Sugar Ray Leonard and Roberto Duran and Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, and I mean, those are just names off the top of my head. But not to, and again, I don't want to sound like I'm discrediting Floyd. Like, I think just to give a mindset of the attitude of some of the people that are kind of harping at Floyd of this performance is that people want to see knockouts and an aggressive type of fighter, but at the very end of the day, man, like this has always been Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather has never been Sugar Ray Leonard. Floyd Mayweather has never been Sugar Ray Robinson. If I were to compare Floyd Mayweather to anybody, it would be like Willie Pett in that fashion. So it's just unfortunate that Floyd put on this performance, and then you hear the crowd, and this is a legacy sealing fight for him, and he's just berated. He was just attacked with boos for the most part in the crowd. Not that he really gives a shit. I mean, he's walking away with like potentially close to 150 some odd $1 million, if I'm maybe lowballing it, or he's still shitload of money. So you really. He doesn't give a shit as far as what the people think, but it's I think this is just the story of his career, man. I mean, he's marketed himself being the villain. He won, and he's saying, "Now what? I told you so. I told you so." And he said that he was on the ropes, saying, "Like now what? I told you so." And it's of course it's to be expected. And he's got one fight left. He says September. He says they asked him, and they're like, "You sure you want to fight in September?" He's like, "Yeah, I want to fight in September." And while conventional wisdom would tell you that Amir Khan may be just the one in line to fight Floyd, you know, can't exclude the fact that he may try to go after Cotto. But the only reason I don't think that fight will happen is because of the whole Rock Nation and you know Al Heyman and all. I don't think that's going to happen. But I, will that be his last fight? Boxers tend to just. I mean, some have walked away for good. I mean, that's not a rarity, but um, you know, Floyd's making a lot of money fighting, and he's got one fight left. He made, like I said, he's probably looking at 150 million, and when all is said and done, and who do you? I mean, do you fight an Amir Khan? Do you? I mean, I don't know. I mean, at this point, man, like I don't think it really matters who he fights because it's just at this point it's just the icing on the cake. They could throw really anybody in there, and it's not going to matter because I think the way they're going to paint this event, his next event, is his last fight, and I don't think it really needs to be a competitive fight, to be honest with you, man. I mean, he fought the guy that everybody wanted him to fight the last 5 years, including myself, and he outboxed him and clearly won the fight. I mean, everybody can complain about how it wasn't an exciting, fight, and I even had to explain to the people I was watching the fight with. I was like, "Yo, man, look. This is how he fights. Pacquiao had to prepare for this, and this Pacquiao, man, just wasn't, or maybe he never was the guy to dethrone Floyd, as some people believe he would be the one, and including myself, at least at this point. But I think Floyd really, man, I think he showed up to the dance, and I think with boxing." And it could parlay really into why we've seen some performances from these guys over the years where, they're fighting, making 20 million or at least with Pacquiao making maybe 20 and Floyd making like 30, 40 million fighting guys that, they clearly could beat for the most part. And it finally comes down to them fighting, and this is just the product of what it is, and it's in a sense an end of an era if you think about it, man. Like 5 years, the boxing world, new fans have been created because of these two guys, and I'll go out and say I don't think it was like the most exciting fight. I don't think it was the greatest fight, or was it? I don't think it was one of Floyd's best fights, but this is what happens in boxing sometimes. Styles make fights, and Pacquiao versus Terrence Crawford could be probably a more exciting fight based on the style matchup, but that just is what it is. What it is, man. And I applaud Floyd Mayweather, man. I don't think anybody should be really just knocking on the guy. I mean, I don't understand. I would understand why, but he proved the doubters wrong, man. At the end of the day, man, he proved the doubters wrong, and at the boxing is a game of hit and not be hit, and he is in this era the master of that style. So we'll have to wait to see who he fights in September. And with Pacquiao, I don't know if he fights the rest of the year, man. I mean, look, I would hate. I mean, to be honest with you, man, I would hate in a way, and I'm not like a big Pacquiao supporter like that, but just because I've had so much respect for the guy, like I would hate the fact that they would like use because in in my opinion, I think that's what it would be at this point, man. I mean, based on at least what I saw against a fighter like Floyd Mayweather, who again is still like a high benchmark, but there's obviously a clear blueprint on how to beat Manny Pacquiao, and when you get in a younger guy who's hungry and is looking at Pacquiao again like a, a T-bone steak. I don't think Pacquiao really has anything to prove, man. Or not, I don't say prove, but I don't see no reason for him to continue to fight, man. I mean, he fought the best fighter in the world. He came up very short, and I would say call it a career, man. I mean, he's a future Hall of Famer. There's, I don't think anybody's gonna like shit on Pacquiao. Again, like, and that was the thing about this fight was, I think this fight for Pacquiao, win or lose, was he would still be cheered and held in high esteem just because of how he portrays himself. And again, it really does come down to perception and how people look at certain fighters. And Floyd getting the greatest win of his career, as far as how everybody put Pacquiao on that level similar to Floyd's, man, and the reception that you would think would be there for him wasn't there. And again, it's unfortunate, but that's the story of Floyd Mayweather. So I'm gonna wrap it up now, man. It's almost shit, man. It's almost 2:45, man, and it's been a hell of a ride these last 5 years, and it's kind of dope in a way that boxing now from this point on. I mean, this is the end of Mayweather Pacquiao. If they have their last fights, they'll ride off into the sunset with a shitload of money that was made tonight, and now on to the new era, new generation, and we'll have to hopefully not wait too damn long for another super fight of this magnitude. But the best case scenario is we get a Cotto Canelo fight in the fall. So it's pretty much it, man. Like I said, man, I got the crow marinating in the fridge. I'll be eating that up tomorrow because, like I said, I picked Pacquiao to win, but I have no problem saluting the fighter of the era. I would call Floyd Mayweather, really. Pacquiao was fighter of the decade, but I would call that Floyd definitely the fighter of this era. So salute to the money man, Floyd Mayweather, undefeated, 48-0. So as I always say, subscribe, hit the links, tune in this Monday night, GYGB boxing podcast. Actually, maybe Sunday, but either way, tune in Sunday or Monday, and we'll just be covering the fight and just, I guess, looking at the future of both guys. So, as I always say, subscribe, hit the links, and I'll be back with you soon.